What is up, everyone? Welcome back to Grade A's TV, and today I'm going to be talking about the murder of Mackenzie Lewick.
Now, with the mystery surrounding a missing college student in Utah, disappearing after attending her grandmother's funeral and last seen getting into a Lyft car.
Mackenzie, who was 23 years old and from El Segundo, California, vanished within hours of landing at the Salt Lake City airport on June 17th of 2019. Her last known communication with any of her family happened at about 1 a.m. on June 17th, when she texted her parents letting them know that she landed in Salt Lake City safely. And she's actually seen on airport surveillance footage walking through baggage claim and later getting in a Lyft. And Mackenzie took the Lyft to Hatch Park, which is located in North Salt Lake. And Mackenzie got to the park between 2 and 3 a.m. and she actually met someone else there. And the Lyft driver later stated that she didn't seem to be in any distress or anything like that, and that's why he or she left her at the park. And all communications with Mackenzie's phone actually ceased around 3 a.m., which is when it's believed that she left the park with the person that she met. And they also showed that that person was the last person that she talked to, or the last person that she communicated with using her phone. And that was actually the last time that anyone saw Mackenzie for at least 10 days. So when Mackenzie missed her midterm exams and a flight back home to LA on June 23rd, that's when a lot of people got concerned and worried about where she was.
So Mackenzie fell off the grid early last Monday morning. Today, she was supposed to be on a flight to California, but she never made it on board, leaving her friends and family more concerned than ever.
Now, police later stated that they received more than 200 tips related to this case, and they used these tips to get multiple search warrants, and one of the warrants were used to search the home of Ajoya Ajayi. And while detectives were searching his house, one of his neighbors actually told police that they saw him burning something and using gasoline to burn whatever he was burning in his backyard, which raised a lot of suspicion, especially since they said that he burned these things on June 17th or around June 17th, June 18th, which is the exact day when Mackenzie went missing. And through a forensic excavation of the area, police were able to find items that they believed belonged to Mackenzie. And they also discovered charred material that was believed to be human tissue, female human tissue. And after running DNA on that tissue, they were able to determine that it did belong to Mackenzie Lewick.
In Utah, a tragic conclusion in the search for a missing college student. Police found the charred remains of 23-year-old Mackenzie Lewick in the yard of the man accused of killing her.
And of course, after finding all this out, Ajayi was arrested and he was booked in the Salt Lake County Jail. He then denied knowing what Mackenzie looked like, even though he had pictures of her on his phone. And I'd like to point out that he didn't have a prior record of any sort of violence or anything like of that nature, but in 2014, he was a suspect in a rape case that the woman later dropped the charges on. And through further investigation, police were actually able to prove that Mackenzie and Ajayi's phones were in the same area at that park within minutes of each other, which is it's crazy that they can track stuff like that with your phones, even though I'm sure that they weren't actively giving out their location. So that's kind of weird that we can just be tracked no matter where we are, no matter what we're doing. It is good in this case because they were able to prove that this person was with the other person at around the time she disappeared, at the time she was murdered. But for the future, I don't know, that's kind of scary. I don't like knowing that my location can always be known. But that's where we've been headed for a long time now, so you can't really do anything about it. And as far as why Mackenzie was in the park and meeting Ajayi that late at night, investigators got tips that she used dating apps that specified in younger girls meeting older men. So you could say that maybe she was just planning on hooking up with him and then things got really crazy. I don't want to blame Mackenzie or anything like that, but I personally don't believe you shouldn't be going to meet somebody you don't really know at 2 to 3 a.m. in the morning. No matter how much you sort of just trust how good people should be, and in a perfect world, you don't end up being killed because you meet someone late at night, but in this world, bad things happen, and that wasn't the best situation to put herself in. But again, I'm not advocating her being killed or anything like that. It's just that wasn't a good situation to be in. You can't trust people. Not these days. You can't trust anyone but your family, and sometimes you can't even trust them. So But that answers the question on why she was in the area at the time and why she was meeting Ajayi in the first place. And of course, after finding all this evidence, Ajayi was officially charged with the murder of Mackenzie Lueck. And more specifically, he's been charged with aggravated murder and kidnapping and desecration of a body. And unfortunately, that is the end of the Mackenzie Lueck story. This was headline news for about a week, 2 weeks, until her body was eventually found. And it is very unfortunate that this happened. Me personally, from the beginning, as soon as I heard that she went missing and the situation around it, I figured more than likely that she was probably going to be dead, just because people usually don't go missing in that scenario, and well, just because they wanted to get away. It could have easily been that she could have just been kidnapped and things of that nature. But if I had to choose, if this happened to someone I knew, I'd sleep a little better at night knowing that they were dead than not knowing what happened to them at all. I think having someone you love disappear and never to be found is probably one of the worst situations that you could ever be in, just mentally, just because at some point, do you give up? Do you say, okay, well, they're dead and I just have to get over it? Or do you keep searching for them because they could be alive somewhere? They could be being held captive or things of that nature. We've seen that so many times when some children go missing and they were held captive for like 10 years and then they finally get out, they finally get free. So if I had to choose a situation, I would rather, I know those are two horrible situations, but I'd rather that loved one being found to be killed than just being kidnapped and never seen again. But I mean, like I said, those are both horrible scenarios. Thoughts and prayers go out to Mackenzie's family. It was reported that the reason she was landing in the airport anyway was because she went back home to California to go to her grandmother's funeral. So 2 weeks after this family buried their grandmother, buried their mother, now they have to bury their niece, their daughter. So it is very unfortunate. Thoughts and prayers go out to that family. I'm sure this is an incredibly hard time for them. But let me know what you guys think about this. Did you think that it was going to end up this way when you first heard about this case? Do you find the evidence that was found against Ajayi to be pretty ironclad? Do you think the government should be able, and police should be able to get information off our phones as easily as they made it seem in this case, where they were able to find his location and things like that? Let me know what you guys think. And until then, I will catch you next video. So I hope you guys have a great day, great week, great month, great year. And I'll see you next time.